So are you ready to PR yourself? We'll remove the mystery from all things PR, and we'll discuss everything from our top strategies to tips and tricks and everything that you can utilize to further enhance your brand or your message. I've been in media, I'm a journalist, and I'm also a publicist. I am Leah Frazier, CEO of Think3 Media, and your host for PR Yourself with Leah Frazier. Let's go. Thank you guys so much just for being such amazing and faithful listeners to PR Yourself with Leah Frazier and rocking it with us from season 1 to now season 3. We have listeners from all over the world just trying to figure out ways to gain better publicity for their brands and for their businesses. And you guys just make me so, so proud. Keep tagging us on social media. We are sharing it out when you're doing your Instagram reels, when you're getting your media mentions and your press mentions, when you're on TV. Keep tagging me in those. Tag our co-host that always comes on, Kiana McDaniel, in those Instagram reels, and let us celebrate you. But before we get into the episode, I do want to tell you guys that you're going to want to get this free gift. This is my free gift to you for 2021. This is something that I normally charge for. So I want you to head to pryourselfwithleahfrazier.com/course. And on that page, you're going to find that you have a freebie, and it is my how to gain press and media mentions during a crisis. We're still in the middle of a global pandemic, and our TV stations, our radio stations, our press and media are still operating in the same mindset that they were last year. So it's still very relevant info, but I want to give that to you for free. You know how I am. I'm all about education. So bring that pen, bring that paper, and I want you guys to jot down all of the little nuggets and put it to use. I want you guys putting yourselves out there and getting the publicity you need for your businesses and brands for 2021, okay? And pay attention. You're going to want to listen to these episodes. You're going to want to sign up for the email list at pryourselfwithleahfrazier.com because I am launching a 14-day Pitch It Afraid challenge where you will get a video and advice from me, actionable tips from me every single day to build up a plan to where you can pitch, whether it's media, whether it's sponsorships, whether it's collaborations, whatever it is you want to do, you're going to be able to pitch it at the end of that 14 days, okay? And I'm going to tell you exactly how to do it. So you're going to want to sign up now, or if you have any questions, reach out to me, pryourselfwithleahfrazier.com, but you're not going to want to miss the kickoff because I just have a feeling so many people are going to be blessed by this, and I am excited. So thank you guys for tuning in. Visit pryourselfwithleahfrazier.com/course. Get your free gift. If you can't get to the web, then you can go to the link in my bio on my personal Instagram at the Leah Frazier or on PR Yourself Podcast on Instagram, and your free gift is in that link in that bio as well. Do not miss out on this opportunity. I'm so excited. Let's get it for 2021. And now here's the episode. And welcome back to another episode of PR Yourself with Leah Frazier. I must say, 2021 is shaping up to just be amazing because I cannot believe who I have on the podcast today. I'm in shock. My mouth right now is on the floor. My edges are gone. I have Eric Sue here, and he has a new book coming out called Leveling Up. But before we even get to the new book, let's just talk about how he's the founder of content intelligence software ClickFlow, and he purchased his ad agency, Single Grain, for $2. Now, Eric, we need to get into this because where are we finding agencies to purchase for $2?
Happy to talk about it.
Definitely give us your background, but I need to get into this story because this is fascinating to me how you were able to turn that around. And then you've worked with clients like Uber, Amazon, Salesforce. You are a rock star. So thank you so much for coming on today. We got to get into this $2 story because this is fascinating.
Totally. Yeah. And thanks for all the nice words, Leah. So the agency, it's not as crazy as you might think. It was a failing agency. And the other 4 founders, the partners, decided that they didn't want to be a part of it. I had just joined the company 6 months prior to help kind of turn the company around because I had helped turn a startup around previously. And so that was my job. And 6 months into it, they're like, they didn't see the light at the end of the tunnel. So I made an offer where I would buy $1 of one partner shares for 10%. And I did the same thing with another partner. So there's $2. So for 20% out of pocket. And the rest of the deal would be paid through the profits of the company with a contingency of basically saying that if the company failed, I would owe nothing, right? So I was 27 years old, and I'm air quoting right now, 27 years old and doing my first M&A deal. And fortunately it worked out, but my bet was that, my downside would be I would lose the company, but I would learn a lot. My
Mhm.
upside would be asymmetrical, meaning that the payoff would be really high, because if I could turn the company around, my thesis was I could take the cash flows from a services business, which is great, and then reinvest it into more exponential sources of revenue, which I'm largely doing today. So examples would be like software companies or investing in other technology companies, educational components and things like that.
And so, in reading everything that you were doing, I'm assuming that it was also their blog that you were able to just make it larger than life. Um, so a lot of our listeners, when we talk about PR and yourself, we talk a lot about social media, but we also talk about content marketing strategies, traffic flow, generating traffic, and then everything that you're extremely skilled at, including marketing secrets. But when I was speaking with some folks from your company earlier, and they were like, look, he took a failing company for this $2 and turned it around, but also took the blog from 0 to 320, is that 320,000 visits a month? I mean, that's
Mhm.
crazy.
Yeah, I mean, so what happened there was, you know, what I realized at a macro level when it comes to creating content, because it's one of the highest forms of leverage that you can have, is I'm not good at the fast stuff. So if you ask me to make TikTok videos and grow virally, I've never been able to grow virally. What I've been able to do is slow, steady growth. So an example of that would be the blog, because when I first joined the company, we were getting about 4,000 visits a month. And we basically, I tried different strategies, but it would just be slow compounding growth. So by year maybe 2 or 3, it still only went up to 20,000 a month or something like that. And then, but year 4 and 5, it jumped up to 100,000, and then it jumped up to 200,000, and then 300,000. So that's 350 is kind of what we're at right now. But my point of saying all that is that when it comes to content or business, typically it takes 2 to 3 years to get something going. Same thing with my podcast, right? Leveling up, that one, I started that podcast while I was trying to save the business. Stupid idea. And I was spending 6 hours a week on it. And after the first year, all I had to show for it was 9 downloads a day. I did the same
Oh.
thing in year 2. I only had 30 downloads a day to show for it. But if I didn't continue, I wouldn't have the 2 podcasts I have today, where collectively we're at about 47 million downloads. So I'm just saying those numbers aren't to brag. I'm just saying it takes time. As long as you stick with a lot of things and you think you're doing the right stuff, you'll probably get there.
So I want to go back to a couple of things. First, Eric, that means we're not going to see you dancing on any TikTok or Instagram reels anytime
I'm
soon.
really bad at dancing. All I do is like sometimes dance on my Peloton bike. That's it.
And we won't find that on TikTok under any type of challenge.
Not maybe who knows? Maybe in the future.
But one of the things I want to pick your brain about is, we're getting into this big boom in audio, obviously. I believe several years ago, Gary Vee said it's going to be the year of the voice, where everything is just going to be voice generated. So we saw this big boom of influencers and bloggers, and where everybody was telling small businesses and entrepreneurs and startups, like, hey, you have to have a blog on your site. Now you have people that predicted, okay, blogging is only good for, let's just say, SEO, but maybe you should focus more on video content or on these other mediums. In your opinion, why is blogging still relevant today, and small business owners and entrepreneurs should still make this a part of their content marketing strategy?
Yeah, so I think, look, if you're starting out right now, you're probably at a severe disadvantage, because there's over 1 million blog posts being produced every single day. And SEO is just getting harder, right? So it's a red ocean if you want to think about it. But what is a blue ocean? Maybe, an example might be if you have a lot of a younger audience, maybe they're hanging out on TikTok. Or if you're trying to hit a B2B crowd, you might be going after LinkedIn. Or to your point earlier, if you're trying to hit voice, you start a podcast, because even right now, I think it's like 1.4 million podcasts in the world. It's not a lot, versus over a billion blogs in the world, right? So I think, it's very important if you're starting out to focus on one channel where you think your audience is hanging out and it's maybe not as competitive, and you go all in on that. And once you think you have a good bedrock, a good foundation, then you can start expanding into different channels and kind of repurpose your content. Because here's the thing, let's say I'm producing for TikTok or YouTube. I can take advantage of the algorithm. If I have a really good headline, a really good thumbnail, and people start to share it, it's going to take off. I don't get that type of virality when it comes to content, blog content. But the good news is, once you get a website going and you've had it for a couple of years, whatever you tend to publish is going to start to rank. So I would recommend, if you're starting from scratch, not a lot of resources, to focus on kind of these other platforms, do really well there, and then try to expand out, maybe add blogging later. Or if you're starting out but you have resources, I would consider buying a blog that has been around for a long time, has traffic, has the keywords that you want to rank for, things like that, and you can acquire it for maybe a good price, and then you can just start publishing content. And that's a easy way to fast forward if you do have resources.
I've never thought about that. I mean, where are we finding these people that are they kind of like the OG bloggers that maybe just don't want to manage the blog anymore and facilitating the deal like that?
Yeah, I mean, you're going to have a lot of web owners that are looking to move on from their businesses. A lot of people are, getting older, and there's going to be a big transfer of wealth. And so, using a tool like Uber Suggest, which it's free, or you can use Ahrefs, you can go look for a lot of these blogs that are in your space, and then just reach out to them and see if they're interested in partnering up, and then maybe even potentially doing an acquisition down the road. Because a lot of these sites that have good traffic, they're under monetized, and you can take advantage of that, meaning that they might be monetizing off of selling ads on their site. That means they're not being the most efficient with their business model, and you can do a better job, assuming you sell products and you have better margins. So you're just basically you're playing an arbitrage game, which is basically what all business is.
Eric, let me find out that we're done with this podcast episode, because you already dropped all the gems we needed for today. Every single last one.
Yeah.
That is so awesome. I do want to talk a little bit, though, just a little bit more about blogging, and then I want to move into mindset, because I think that has a lot to do with it, and you just so efficiently talked about it in your book. But when it comes to blogging, I think a lot of people are intimidated because they also don't know timing wise, like how much time does that take? How many words per post am I supposed to be posting? In theory, what does this look like before I attach this as a part of something that I need to be doing throughout the week?
Yeah, I mean, if I were starting from scratch right now and I had, again, no resources, I would just try maybe once a month or once a quarter to produce the best possible thing out there. And there's a good blog post on this called the skyscraper technique. So you can Google that. It's from an SEO, a friend of mine named Brian Dean, also known as Backlinko. And when you think about producing something amazing, you can just, let's say I want to rank for the keyword content marketing. Now, if I go type in content marketing into Google, let's take a look at the top 3 results. What's so good about them? Can I do something that's 10x better than that? Or maybe 20x or 100x better? And then, because I have such a good piece, maybe I spend a month or 2 months on it. I'm going to reach out to all the people that have linked to the top 10 results and say, hey, I actually have a better piece than that. Right? This is one way you can do it. There's a lot of other tactics, strategies you can use, but I think if you're going to produce blog content right now in just kind of a sea of red where it's super competitive, you gotta have something that's super, super amazing. And when you create something super, super amazing and someone's linked to it already, and you say you have something better, it's easier for them to link to you for SEO purposes, right? Because obviously links are vote of confidence, are votes of confidence that will help you gain more traffic in the long term.
I love that. And I want to talk a little bit, because you've hit on so many things. And just as a publicist and with my clients, one of the things I do immediately when they walk through the doors, I manage expectations. And sometimes a lot of that has to do with timelines. We live in this digital microwave society. Everybody wants everything right then. Maybe they're looking at you, Eric, and they see your journey, but they haven't read Leveling Up and they don't know what you went through to get there. So they're wanting it overnight. You said earlier that, look, some of these numbers took 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. So, what's your advice for folks that are needing to get into this game, especially from a marketing perspective for their businesses, but they need to manage the time that it's going to take to see these type of numbers?
Yeah, I think one of the key things, at least when I was younger, it was constantly comparing myself to people that are at their chapter 25 or level 25, where let's say they're doing 10 million, $100 million a year. And, I'm constantly putting pressure on myself. And then, you know, level setting myself and thinking, oh, you know what? I haven't spent nearly as much time as they have. I shouldn't even be comparing myself with them. I should just keep comparing myself to myself and thinking about, you know what? I don't deserve to go to the next level because I haven't beaten this level. And like, so life is just a series of levels. There's levels to every single thing. There's are levels to when you are training at the gym. There are levels to your business. There's levels to your relationships with people. So there's levels to everything. And one of the key things, the key power ups is, understanding that things take time and things take time to compound. And most investors will tell you that people mostly fail at timing the market, but time in the market is a lot more important than that. It's the same thing when you think about business or when you think about content. Most people give up too easily because they want the instant gratification. But that's very similar to how publicly traded stocks are managed, right? They operate on a quarterly basis. Whereas you have other companies that might be privately held and they have a long-term mindset, right? They're playing the infinite game, they're enjoying the journey. And so that's what I think it is. I think it's requiring yourself to reframe your mindset and just to understand that good things tend to happen in decades, not really in years.
Love that. I mean, just managing that expectation. And I think if people could wrap their minds around that, whether it had to do with marketing or starting their business, I think it would make the journey just that much more enjoyable rather than feeling anxious. And a lot of people, they get really, really stressed out. I mean, the stress comes with it. But instead of feeling like things are supposed to happen overnight, I think if they were to look at it from your lens, it would just, you would enjoy the journey just a little bit more.
Yep, 100%. And by the way, I think the stress is great. I think adversity is great. And so, it's when you reframe adversity or when you reframe, let's say someone says something bad about you, you reframe it into fuel and give me more. That actually helps you do better. Right. And so obviously with stress, that's kind of your body saying, you probably need to make some adjustments and not just plow through it. Whether it's, the cliches common cliches you'll hear are, you got to sleep better, got to optimize your sleep. You got to make sure you take care of your body, your diet, meditation and all that type of stuff. And it's all important because, every single day it's a gift. Right. So I think stress is a good signal. It's a signal to tell you to make a change. Same thing with adversity. Adversity to me is a power up. So most people are like they crumble in the face of adversity. But if you can manage to reframe how you think about certain things like that, you'll have an advantage over other people.
So let's get into your new book that I am oh so excited. And we keep using these phrases leveling up, powering up. So before we got on today, I was just talking about how it kind of reminded me of, you talk a lot about gaming. And so it just reminds me of like Super Mario Brothers, or in my case, I was never really good at Super Mario Brothers. So I just watched my brother play. And I was the annoying person in Duck Hunt that would go right up to the TV and shoot the ducks instead of playing the game the right way.
That's funny.
So, your new book, Leveling Up How to Master the Game of Life, is just amazing. Why don't talk to me a little bit about coming up with the concept of this book and why you feel like this is relevant for today?
Yeah, I think, esports is becoming more and more of a thing. You can see stadiums or, you got hundreds of millions of people watching tournaments. So, at least, in countries like Korea, or you look at kind of the just Europe in general, gaming is widely becoming more accepted. Actually, the United States is behind. And so, you know, when you look at the dollars, the attention going there, it's a trend that's not going to stop. Amazon bought Twitch for over $1 billion. YouTube's pretty into gaming streaming as well. You have all these gaming influencers. So the timing seems right. And nobody has created something around helping over 3 billion people in the world that have played games. And reframing again how they look at life, because life doesn't have to be this stress ball. Life is basically a game. It's a game that will only end when you pass away. But other than that, you just keep playing. You keep, the cliches, enjoy the journey. But it's the same thing as, when you look at people are like, okay, games don't actually help, and it seems like a waste of time. And I've had parents actually tell me that still too. Like my parents used to hide my keyboard and things like that. But I think the key thing is when you think about sports, people talk, I'm like, why do you like sports? Well, they're interested in, they said sports help me with teamwork, resilience, communication, all that type of stuff. Well, I'm saying, you know what? That's the same thing with gaming as well. It helps you with all of that. And gaming, to me, actually can create successful leaders, because the whole idea here is that when you're training in sports, you're training in a different world and you carry over what you learned into real life. Same thing with gaming. You go into a shadow world, right? You learn a lot and you bring that back into real life. I think people haven't helped reframe how gaming can actually be incredibly helpful. And some of the most successful people in the world have played a lot of games. Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg, and you have a host of other kind of champions that have actually kind of parlayed their skills into the world of business and sold multiple companies, right? So I think gaming is very valid. It's here to stay, and nobody up to now has created a message around, hey, gaming actually creates leaders.
So are you telling me I got to go and fight somebody for this PS5 now?
Yeah, I mean, look, you can do that, or I mean, look, you can do sports or you can do gaming. I'm saying they're not. There doesn't need to be a stigma against gaming. I'm sure sports took a long time to acknowledge, and then now it is where it is now. But people with a lot of trends, right? When you think about Snapchat or Snap when it first came out, people dismissed it as a toy. When Bitcoin first came out, people dismissed it as a toy. Now it's more accepted, becoming more accepted. Games were dismissed initially, and people make fun of things initially until you can't stop the wave, and that's where it's at right now. You cannot stop the wave, and I just think it's it's a message that's required to go out. So why not me? Because I live that world.
I think this is also fascinating. I'm still a journalist. So I started my PR agency, but I still, write for multiple publications. And I remember several years ago covering esports, and particularly our NBA team here in Dallas, covering Mavs gaming and interviewing the young players and them telling me about they were making well over six figures. They were doing NBA 2K. And so I went on this rampage much later to advocate for kids and saying, hey, like, I understand your parents don't understand, but this is actually a career path. And now we've seen so much growth in Dallas alone, from institutions offering programming. My good friend, Danny Martin, it was Geek Leets. He just rebranded it to just be this entire infrastructure that supports the thought of gaming, because people, it has such a negative stigma. People don't understand, like, this is an entire career.
Yeah, I mean, and by the way, the career doesn't just end there. I mean, you have the CEO of Shopify, publicly traded company. He played a lot of StarCraft 2, and he actually hires a lot of these pro StarCraft 2 players that are looking for a job, because in the world of StarCraft 2, which is a strategy game, it's basically a really advanced level of chess. And it teaches you how to manage resources, again, how to how to kind of adapt to certain situations, and it basically does teach you about business. So that's why he kind of instant hires these people. So that's just another data point.
So for a person that would love to game, but I don't have the quickest fingers and all that other stuff, where should I start?
Yeah. And by the way, like I will say right now, to be very transparent, like I think when we had our office, we'd play Smash Brothers with the team, but I don't play games much anymore, because I just find that business is the ultimate game. So I just enjoy playing that. So every day when I wake up in the morning, whether things are going good or bad, I'm excited to wake up. So I've really recaptured the same type of excitement I had since I was 12 years old, when I had to, when I'd wake up and play games like, Quake or Warcraft and things like that. But I mean, that's what it is. I mean, I would say for you specifically, or anybody looking to kind of think about, oh, how can gaming actually help me in life? Poker is perfect, right? Poker,
Yeah.
poker is a beatdown. Poker teaches you resilience. Poker teaches you to be patient. Poker teaches you bankroll management, how to when you know the odds are with you, and when to it causes you to think in bets as well, which is important for business. And you have some of the top venture capitalists in the world. Actually, I did a tweet before and I copied them into it. And they're like, yeah, absolutely. Poker teaches you a ton about business. So it also teaches you to not be addicted as well. I was definitely addicted when I was 19 or 20 years old. So, everything in moderation. So I think, look, even playing home games with your family, it teaches you different dynamics. And again, I think probably the most important thing I got from poker is learning how to control my emotions and just having an even keel. So super, super important stuff.
I love that. And I'm a Vegas girl, so that should not be a problem.
That's good. Just don't overdo it.
I did the blackjack table, but now we're going to try a little poker.
There we go.
I have a question for you, though, because now, I mean, with the success and obviously with the book, what is that conversation now like with your family around that topic of gaming? Now that I'm sure they've just seen all the success that has come with that for you, your business. What do they believe in it now?
I would like to say yes, but I don't think so. So it's, when I see them, they still very much credit college. And I told them, thank you for college and thank you for supporting me there, but college wasn't it. And then I tell them about all I learned from gaming, and it doesn't, what I'll say is this, just like when I talk to, certain people that haven't played games, they just don't get it. And they just don't get it. Right. And I think what they've come to accept is that they just don't get it. And so, we'll see. Maybe I'll make them read a copy of my book and maybe they'll get it.
Well, what I love so much about this book too, Eric, is not only just the play on words that kind of relate to gaming, but after each chapter, there's very tactical and actionable items. So it's not a book that you just want to rush through. Like, you literally laid it out to where you're not the same person or individual or hopefully business from the start of the book to the finish. And then you have these bonuses and level up and, hey, go to this website and put in this bonus code for this free gift from you or whatever it is. And so it's interactive. It's got all these cool things to it. And I'm just excited for people to be able to get their hands on this. But what are some other things that people can expect from leveling up?
Yeah, I think just understanding that the book is about collecting power-ups throughout life, and thinking about, there's a lot of anecdotes in there about how I'll give an anecdote about my gaming life, and then I'll compare it to business, whether it's using my business experiences or real life business experiences or stories from other people. But to your point, there are quests at the end of each chapter, and then in some chapters you get bonuses, right? So the entire book is there's gamification around that. And I would just say there's a very important concept at the end of the book, but you'd have to, understand the concept of collecting power-ups, and then you'll understand what that whole thing means. But that comes at the end of the book. And my goal here is that whoever reads it, if they just take one action from it, that's a success. And so, we'll see what happens with it.
Well, Eric, it has been a pleasure speaking with you today. Thank you so much for being on the podcast. I know you're super busy. Thanks for all the gems that you dropped. Just from this podcast episode alone, I know people are going to be changed. And so it is a no-brainer that they should go out and get this book. So tell people where it can be found, when they can access it, and then how they can find out more information about you or follow you in your journey.
Yeah, thank you for that. And so as of this recording, it's going to come out February 24th of 2021. And you can go to levelingup.com, or you can just go to your favorite online retailer to pick it up. And if you have any questions, you want to reach out to me directly. I'm at Eric OSIU on Twitter, Instagram, and Clubhouse.
I was going to ask you about Clubhouse because I'm clubbing in the house all the time. Well, not enough to the fact, where it takes away from business, but I find Clubhouse to be super fascinating as well, because that's an audio just mechanism. And I've met so many amazing, great entrepreneurs from all over the world so far. So what are your takes on it?
Yeah, I think this concept is here to stay. Who knows if it's going to be Clubhouse or Twitter Spaces or whatever. I think, talking about audio, and to me, clubhousing is basically it's networking at scale. And so even if you and I have a touch point for maybe 15 seconds or so, it leads to something else. For example, right before this podcast, I spoke to a guy for 45 minutes, and it was just because we had a quick interaction, and that's leading to other stuff now. So I think it's amazing.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Eric, for being on the podcast. And thank you for all of you guys for faithfully tuning in week after week. I'll have all of Eric's info and links in the caption for you guys to access. And thank you for tuning in. And you know what to do. If you love this episode, click that subscribe button, share it, and tag folks in this. You know, there's people out here that need this information, and they need it in the way that he delivered it, and they need this book. So share this with them, email this to them, tweet it, Instagram, however you're going to do it, club in the house. I don't care how you do it. Get them this information. Rate and review this episode. And you know what to do. If you have any questions, email me, leah@think3media.com. And we're out of here until next time.